sure that our EDC and our EDC legal counsel are aware as they
Absolutely,
do their
right.
work.
They're the ones that deal with that on a more frequent basis. Absolutely.
I ask you, when we talk about the possibilities and the discretion of the judge in changing the percentage, if that were, let's say that it gets done, either increased or we were lucky enough to get the 100, does that get then, is it retroactive? Or is it of the time that it changes?
Probably not. I think what's probably going to happen is that, first of all, the county hasn't budgeted for anything other than receiving 100% of their taxes on all this property that's part of the zone. So I think at best you're going to look at a situation where they would approve an interlocal agreement that would become effective for taxes that they're going to levy starting next year.
I see.
I think that would be the situation, whatever that percentage would be. And then once that agreement's in place, then it's no longer discretionary. I mean, it really becomes an agreement between you all. But I think that's the best we're looking at this point.
Questions? Thank you, Mr. Sturgis, and we will definitely reach out to you when we set that meeting and have you.
Very fine. I'm happy to come. You bet. Thank you all very much.
Have a dry drive home.
I do too. I do too. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
At this, we go to item B. At this time, I'd like to read the proclamation commemorating Jose A. Bravo's 100th birthday. I know we have members of his family. They can come forward to receive this proclamation. Okay. There was an official gathering from the family where Mr. Bravo was present with his family to celebrate his birthday, and it's actually the 24th. So you had members from different parts of the country, I think, you'd understand, that came over. So why don't you all come forward? And I'd like to read this proclamation on behalf of the City Commission, and it states as such. Yes. Okay, if you can go behind the podium. This is a proclamation for Jose A. Bravo, whereas much to the delight of the Gavino Bravo and Clemencia Bravo, Cavazos Bravo, 100 years ago, Jose Bravo was born in the San Juan plantation in San Juan, Texas. This very personable young man of exceptional abilities is celebrating his 100th birthday on September 24th, 2014. And whereas Jose Bravo was honored by friends and relatives on the occasion of his birthday, 100th birthday on the 20th of September, we speak of his accomplishments and achievements and deserve recognition and commendation, which are that Mr. Bravo held multiple jobs throughout the years: a WPA worker, a farm worker, a crew leader, a truck owner, a car salesman, Christmas tree salesman, and recruiter. Since about 1967, he has been the owner of Bravo Labor Agency, a firm that recruits and sends certified skilled and unskilled workers to companies throughout the United States. And during his long and productive lifetime, he has earned the respect and affection of people from all walks of life and all ages because of his knowledge, experience, wisdom, and community spirit. And whereas during his long and productive lifetime, he has earned the respect and affection of the people, and with the love and encouragement of his spouse, Maria Elena Vasquez, 6 children, Raquel Bravo, David Bravo, Mary Ann Medina, Aida Olivares, Gavino Bravo, Alonso Bravo, 15 grandchildren, and 25 great-grandchildren. Jose Bravo has been a powerful influence for good in our community. And now, therefore, be it resolved that I, San Juanita Sanchez, by the power vested in me as mayor of the city of San Juan, along with Mayor Pro Tem Armando Garza Jr., Commissioners Jesse Ramirez, Mario Garza, and Heriberto Suarez, hereby issue this proclamation on September 23rd, 2014 to Jose A. Bravo, and we will turn it over to his family. Next on item C, update and presentation of Noche de Paz. Mr. Rodriguez?
Mayor and Commissioners, good evening. Thank you for giving me these few minutes. I wanted to talk to the Commission about this year's 2014 Noche de Paz, and I wanted to give you all an update as we get started. We had our first, well, before I even get that far, Mayor and Commissioners, I want to introduce the committee members that serve on the Noche de Paz. If they'll please stand up. All the committee folks, EDC. So as you can see, the majority of the, if not all the directors take part in the Noche de Paz. So this is the committee that is putting this thing, this Noche de Paz together. Thank you, folks. Thank you for standing up. Mayor and Commissioners, I want to just go ahead and go the first item on there that was passed out to you is to determine the date, time, and location. This is where I wanted to bring before the Commission to get some feedback. The committee, based on the size of the event that's going to take place this year, the parking, the Memorial Park lends itself as the best venue. Memorial Park, I'm sorry. The Municipal Park. And so I know that we've had it downtown in the past. I think that's also been a great venue for us too. But we were able this year to procure 2 large bands, very popular bands that are going to be playing for the Noche de Paz, and that is La Mafia, and then we're going to have as the headliner, and then Emilio Navaira, is that correct? And his brother Raulito will be joining him. So they're making a comeback, and they're doing very, very well. So we're going to have a big group. We're anticipating a big group of people that will be attending this great event. But where we're needing guidance is the Commission, just some feedback if the municipal park is the best place, or if y'all would like to have it downtown, so that we could start refining all the details that go into putting this event together.
The largest that is Cinco bigger than Noche de Paz?
Noche de Paz is bigger than the Cinco. Right, committee? We all agree on that?
But then we're not going to have the folks with the cook-off, so we actually have all the grounds available. So.
Well, that's one.
You are having a cook-off?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then you might. Well, that in itself would probably help then to the municipal park, better than downtown.
Yes, we're looking right now. Mr. Tapia has been with us, the president of the EDC, and also he's the one of the head IB. Okay, well, he's in charge of all the pits. Yes, it's pretty serious. What we had come up with was an idea of putting together a showdown of some of the best cooks in South Texas. In other words, limiting it to a certain group of people, of grand champions, and so. But we're still ironing out the details. But we don't want to do that. We don't want to take the next step until we kind of figure out if it's the best place, and if we have a consensus from the commission on if that's to be the best place, then the group is ready to take off and start finalizing details. That's one. We could do if you go to the next one, it talks about the weather. The weather is going to be, it calls for rain, kind of cold, off and off rain, and like I said, it's going to be fair and cold. It's what the almanac, the farmer's almanac, has given us for that time frame. Now, Plan B could be to hold it downtown if we needed to. We could also plan to have it downtown if it got too wet at the park, then we'd have to come this way. So the committee is working hard to have 2 avenues that we can plan for, but we wanted to have first choice and second choice so that we could plan accordingly. I don't want to go over too much of it, what's in here, Mayor. I wanted to give the Mayor and Commissioners, give you all what we're working on, but I didn't want to do it without at least first establishing.
Insurance?
Insurance, I visited with Miss Ms. Gonzalez and Carmen, if you want to touch up on that.
Okay, so it'll be insurance for the rain and for the bands and all that's covered.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's like event cost, the event. No, I'm not sure, ma'am. I would have to look at. Okay, well, I thought it was.
Important. We've experienced that before, so.
I think
Okay.
the way it went right to that, because that was going to be a question of mine. It says we're covered, I'm assuming, for any kind of liability through our TML policy.
Right, right.
But we
right.
still need to procure rainy day insurance because
Well-
we could have that issue.
Yeah, I was understanding where, but we'll look into that, Mayor and Commissioners, and we'll get that straightened out too. We'll definitely get that done like ASAP. But we're here just to well, let's go over it if you don't mind. We'll go to the second page. If you'll turn to the second page, it just talks about if we do street closures, if we were to go downtown, what we would be doing there, the crowd control, security that would have to happen. Now, one thing that we haven't discussed, and I don't want to steal Mr. Jaime's thunder, but you know, we always have our traditional Christmas parade that kind of goes right into our Noche de Paz, leads us right into the Noche de Paz event. So we're working on that. I don't want to get too much of details, but I know we've already, Mr. Jaime, have we informed the schools already about the parade or not yet? Not yet, okay. So that's coming too. If you'll turn to the third page, again, it talks about street closures. It talks about a command center, lost and found, main stage, entertainment, who'll be responsible for that. We will have this year a winter Texan breakfast like we did last year, and we're just procuring the restaurant that would help us. Last year we had it at the Pico de Gallo. We're looking at December 1st. And then we have the vendors and the things, the advertisement that goes with that. If you'll turn the page, we are working with our corporate sponsors right now, getting sponsors. Then it talks about the drink booths, the snow area. We will have snow, and I believe we kind of locked that one up already. I believe we've already locked the snow. The parking, if we go to the municipal park, we've already reached out to Miss Abbott and all the parking, so it helps us there with parking. Cleanup, we do have folks that that will be helping us. It's all the departments working to get that cleaned up. If you'll turn the page, we will have Santa's workshop again. That will be the library, recycling, and planning and code enforcement will be in charge of that. Blue Santa will also happen. Going back, we talked about the parade registration and the parade route. We'll be coordinating that through Parks and Rec. We'll get parade judges, the welcome from the city, and of course some golf carts, light towers, porta potties, event insurance, ATM machine, a beer barn. That will happen. If we have it at the park, we'll be fine. If we do it downtown, we probably won't participate in that. We'll let the local owners do that. But if we go downtown, the city will not be doing that. If we go to the municipal park, it's more feasible for us to do it there. And we do make a little bit of money. Last year, what did we make, Pat, last year on the beer barn? I mean, at the park? At the city, which is money that helps pay for the event, offsets the cost of the event. So we've already talked to TABC and got all that coordinated, and so they'll work with us there. And then the last, of course, is the ice vendor. Then the closing. We did agree that we did want to close no later than 10:30 Saturday night. We want to be able to be out of there by 10:30 so that we don't disturb any more of the residents in that area, that we don't carry it too long. But going back to the very beginning, Mayor, my apologies, Mayor and Commissioners, the date is Saturday, December 13th, 2014. Any questions? I know I just skimmed through it, but I didn't want to get it too detailed because we're still working on the specifics. The group is meeting every 2 weeks. We meet to discuss and get updates from everybody. So, but first we're kind of stuck on where the commission would like to have it. So,
Recommendation in the committee's park. I think that's fine. It sure lends itself for that cook-off at Mr. Tapia is talking about, and it's enough out there, space, so I'm good with it.
You know, if there is weather leading up to the event, it will make it very difficult at the park. You know, if it rains, like for example, as it has been right now, you know, it would make it difficult to do it at the park. Whereas if it rains leading up to the event downtown, it's not as much of a challenge because packed out. You know, and I think the other thing too is with the parade, I think the parade lends itself to it also being downtown because parade route, the folks will line up along the parade route and then they'll just come right down to the downtown area. Whereas if we do the parade and then now we're gonna change the parade route so that it ends over there, because how are we gonna get people to participate and enjoy in the parade and then come back to the park as well? Just a consideration, you know, I think it's just something to think about. Although if we do have the barbecue cook-off, then we have to set up another space. I don't know how that would work out, because then if we're talking about that, then now we're talking about two separate locations, and that's not good either. So I think just as long as we consider all of the you know, intricacies of each one, then we you know, as long as we come to a logical conclusion, I think that you should pursue both avenues and make sure plus or minus you know, advantages, disadvantages to each, and then you know, make a decision based on that so that it's something that's quantifiable and logical.
Go ahead. I think we need to find out whether they're planning to do this cook-off. That's one thing you all need to discuss and find out if you're really serious about doing this. I'm all for it. That's one thing, you know. But if you guys, the EDC does go ahead and go through with the cook-off, I feel that we should do it at the municipal park. It's much bigger. You know, all these participants that come in here and cook, they already know the location. You know, these guys know the routes when they're hauling their pits in here, which way to come in, come out. You know, I honestly think that the municipal park would be the ideal place for this event.
Well, I also agree with them. I have sat down with them and listened to their concerns in both areas, but if that's what they want, I'm all for it.
What we'll do is we'll plan for both, Mayor, with the, if the cook-off, commissioners, mayor and commissioners, if the cook-off happens, and we'll look at municipal park, and then with the downtown also, and then planning for if we could do something downtown. The committee will come up with something. We just needed to know more or less, get a feeling tonight of how the commission wanted to go forward with this, and that's why I brought this forward. So thank you for giving me your time. If you have any more questions, thank you.
D, update and presentation, emergency management, Chief Garza. Good evening.
Could have used almanac, I guess, for these past couple of weeks that we've been getting these rains.
Is it working?
Pretty much.
Really?
We pretty much put the part of the emergency management part aspect of the city. We've been tested these past couple of weekends with the rains that we've been getting. We're pretty much squared away. Some subdivisions that normally flood didn't flood, and the ones that didn't did. So a quick update as far as the sandbagging. We've got 2,000 bags sand. The day that we did get the rainfalls, we loaded up one of our fire trucks to get some sands to some local residents, which we were thinking was going to flood, which is Las Flores. Some of these bags have been sitting in there too long, so they started deteriorating. So what we did, with Mike's crew, we got a crew together. They're double bagging now, because due with the sun and everything, the humidity, these bags are deteriorating. So right now we have 2,000 ready to go. Should these rains continue, which they are, till Friday or Saturday, they'll start tapering down. West Hall Acres was one of the issues that we had. For those of you that watch the news and for those of you that actually went out there, we have the plan or the temporary fix, which is going to be to put a valve, which will be controlled manually. We'll be able to go out there once the level of the ditch goes down to where the pipe is. We'll go open it manually and let the water go.
Have the valve, right?
Correct. Yes,
And
ma'am.
it was there for this last rain.
No, that was a plug. We used an inflatable plug.
Okay.
The valve
To do
might
the
just,
same thing, though.
exactly. Well, the valve actually what it's going to do exactly. It'll be controlled manually. It can be up, open and closed manually. So that's what we're looking at. They haven't been able to put the actual valve that it's going to be open with a valve with a wrench, right, Mike? Because of the rains, it's too wet out there. They can't put in a tractor to do what the job that they want to do. But as far as that, like that weekend that we went out there, she was set up temporarily. We set her up with housing. We did pump till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then went back again the next day and pumped till about 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Eventually, I sent the chief an email this week that there'll be a point in time when we've been fortunate that we haven't had other flooding in other areas. We may have to limit our resources out there at that location. We're hoping that the valve will work, but there's got to be some other options. You know, there's going to be other. We only have 2 6-inch pumps with the city. Resources, we don't have a problem. It's just a phone call away from the county. But should those pumps need to be removed from there, we're just going to have to continue taking them somewhere else and then getting that later on. And with the plug, yes, ma'am. But the thing is, ma'am, what happens, Mayor, it's still, yeah, she's getting water from the north side and the south side. You know, and she's pretty much, I say she because that resident there, it's like she's sitting in a bowl. All the water goes to her area. So, but like I said, eventually we're going to have to start looking at, we're going to try the plug, which we did, and it worked. We opened it and closed it as necessary. But the valve should be the final repair on there until we look into any other repair or permanent repair. Either they build up or they relocate. So other than that, that's pretty much where we stand. As far as, I don't know if you have any questions.
I do, Chief.
Excuse me.
There were different areas, Brecha Road. That's on
Brecha.
Brecha, and that's of gas line. You have
Sergeant Trevino.
Paisano.
Yes.
That was unbelievably flooded.
Yes.
That's something that's happened in the past.
Correct.
How about your reach out to those folks at any time?
There, ma'am, usually the time that we had the heavy rain, we brought in, we utilized some of our pumps and dewatered. It took us like about 3 days to completely dewater that subdivision. This was back in, I'm going to say in '08. This time around, ma'am, the water does recede, but it takes a while. Like downtown, we were setting up sandbags in the businesses downtown, but within 25 minutes, pretty much the water receded. The frontage, TxDOT will not close the frontages. They will close the off-ramps, but they won't close the frontage. So we were trying to control traffic from going from east of Raul Longoria all the way to Cesa, and people were just going around us. So we just opened it back up, and we let the water recede on its own. There was about 6 or 7 vehicles that stayed stranded out there, but they refused to stop. So, but I did get with TxDOT, and they told me right off the bat that they weren't going to close the frontage.
I don't know how long it took, Mr. Gonzalez, for that water to recede. How quickly y'all went back?
Brecha?
You went back there, Brecha, in that area, but it was at the doorsteps of folks and the water hydrants. It was practically up to where the little stubs are, as high. So I think keeping that in mind, if we were to get that kind of rain, that'd be one of the first folks that we'd want to reach out to. And then Citriana
Yes.
flooded like.
Yes, and
I've never
they had
seen
a black water issue. The
Yeah.
pumps couldn't keep up with the lift stations actually, and we had a black water issue there and on Cesar Chavez. But I mean, we did our best where we could, and I want to you know, thank them, because, I mean, it's just a phone call away, Mayor, and I get the team together, and we actually go out there and take care of the issues. Kind of difficult, but we try to get it done. As far as resources, I know, you know, the county reached out to us, Precinct 2, Commissioner Palacios. He offered us whatever we needed, it was there. But like I said, it's a matter of setting priorities, and I think later, eventually, we continue these rains, or should have more flooding like that, we'll start looking at that area. Primavera 1 and 2, no issues at all. I mean, those two subdivisions completely drained away.
Back in '08, Chief, we didn't have any problems with Citriana that way, did we?
No, ma'am.
We already had the drainage and everything in.
Yes, ma'am.
So is this something that we need to be looking at as far as maybe checking our drainage system on those? Because I know that Citriana was very, very bad. Brecha has been bad, and with this rain, and I think they tell me that it got bad faster than when the hurricane came in. And of course, Los Flores has always had the problem.
You know, and it didn't flood, man?
It did, but it went down real fast.
Yeah.
Because they send me the pictures, but
Yes.
it went down real fast. But that's a continuing issue in those
Yes.
areas. So keeping those in mind for purposes of responding in those areas when we know that the rain is coming down hard.
On the Citriana issue, there's one big change that has happened in that area since that drainage was done, and I wonder if all the construction of the new school has impacted or created a blockage, because that line goes from Citriana
To the back.
west to the canal, correct? And I remember when we did the road improvements, we increased the capacity of the drainage. I think we doubled the size of the piping, and there had not been an issue, and I got a call this weekend on that as well, and they told me also about the Blackwater issue. I'm wondering if inadvertently, of course, something has occurred, maybe a shift in the dirt that's created a blockage on that line. Is that something that we can look into as a possible problem? Because they hadn't had that problem. I mean, we've had some heavy rains since that line had been improved, and it had not been a problem until just recently. And the only thing that's changed from then to now is the construction. And I mean, I'm sure you've seen the heavy equipment that they have out there. You know, it's just a possibility, but it's definitely something that I think needs to be looked at, because the lift or the pump station, the lift station or the pump is one thing, and if that's an issue and it malfunctioned, then we need to look at it. Then we also need to look at, is there a blockage down the line, number one. And on Brecha, where is that outfall?
Brecha's off Retama.
No, where's the outfall?
Oh, I'm not too familiar. The
That
drainage there is very
outfall,
minimal.
There's really not an outfall.
Yeah.
What it does, it goes
Nice.
into that little holding pond that's in the back there, where the weeds are real high. People don't know, but there's pipes going in there. And when we're looking around, we could not find an exit of that pond. So
it's
like a little holding pond. There's two lots on the north side of Berecha. I think
so
it's the
it's a
next street.
detention and not a retention.
Right. And we cannot find an exit out of that, so that was, as soon as that fills, that's it, it's gonna back up. And, of course, working itself south.
Your knowledge, Ronnie, where would the closest outfall for that detention pond or retention pond
Well,
be?
it's the same ditch to the west, the same one that everything else is tied into, which is, it goes all the way there's a pipe behind all those subdivisions between lots going towards that ditch to the west, the one that Sergeant Torino ditched. They're collecting from those subdivisions, actually.
The bar
on
ditches
north
and
side
from the
and
curb
the
and
south
gutter.
side of the lot lines.
Thank you.
We identified that in our study, that we need to redo all that area there.
So if we were to undertake a drainage project, Ronnie, I'm just stuck on that. Where would we? Because
Sergeant Trevino, when we did the study, the master plan study, we sized the pipe along Sergeant Trevino to reverse all those flows south to Sergeant Trevino, because there's no outfalls, or divide those subdivisions. And on the design of the Sergeant Trevino Bridge, we already have a large pipe plugged, for future extension to the east, which all the way, you know, we didn't look at all the way to Sergeant Trevino, I mean, to Cesar Chavez, but to those subdivisions. So the pipe is sized at the crossing right now, you know, obviously future projects to keep going east to take care of all those areas there. The master plan does show that, and there is no exit, as far as I know, on that road right there.
But I do recall in 2008, we borrowed pumps from the county, and we had to dewater that subdivision. It took us about 2 days.
Because the first street that floods is Guadalupe, I think,
Yes.
right? And then it just keeps going south, because that's where it's gonna accumulate, there's no outfall there.
Can we increase the capacity of that retention pond? And that's a Band-Aid, not a permanent
And
fix.
I really don't know who's in charge of the retention, but like, who maintains it, for one thing? The weeds are, I don't even know who maintains that.
Find out.
Well, usually, I mean, a lot of times it's a homeowner association. I mean, in this case, I doubt it, but I don't know how it got created without an outfall out of there. But we did see 2 inlets with 2 pipes going into that area. We could never get in there because the weeds are so high. So I don't know who cuts the grass.
Well, I'm getting ready to crop at the one over here on Hall Acres, the drainage ditch that runs behind us over here on this side, for a simple reason that there's a lot of debris that's been flowing through here. Because of course, all this is coming from the west towards the east. And one of the residents is telling us that turning on those pumps from the irrigation district, that's gonna help bring down the level of that ditch, and it's not. The reason that the county, what I found out was that the county has it regulated. Those gates they have them regulated for the simple reason that they don't want that water completely rushing through there and eroding the other side of the ditch. So they have it maintained to where it flows the way they want it, actually, and they will not turn on those pumps, regardless.
Pumps you talking about?
On West Hall Acres, that's just south of the city shop, around that area.
Oh, yeah.
There's some pumps back there, but they won't turn them on. I was told that by Mr. Guffrey from the irrigation district.
Those pumps they're pumping
From
water
Sunny or
that's
from
coming
God?
from San Antonio, right?
Drainage.
From Nebraska,
Mhm.
that goes through where the trash is. There's that holding pond back there. That pumps take care of that one, right? Of that detention pond.
Also, what I passed out is when I'm not out watching the weather or assisting to this, is part of my duties as far as the emergency management coordinator. I don't know if you all have any questions, but like I said,
I guess I just want us to follow up with those areas because, you know, we only think about them when it floods like this, but we do need to resolve it. This time it's, you know, these homes, it's actually getting right to their doorsteps. Of course, on the West Acres gets right into their home. And Citriana as well. And now with the new construction on the subdivision over here in Las Palmas, from I Road, all those entries were flooded, and then there was a street that I don't think used to flood. That's
Citrus.
citrus.
Well, we went out there, we found out that there's a 24-inch pipe, and out of that 24-inch pipe, there's probably about this much light that you can see through it. It is so plugged up with junk. So the construction had nothing to do with it. It's just a coincidence. It was just something going to happen. And obviously, a lot of this stuff happens when it doesn't rain, and then all of a sudden it comes at one time, and all the trash,
All the dirt,
everything will
trash.
get in there. Now that pipe, I was with Mike's man out there, and he actually got in and looked at it, and it's full. I mean, it's full of junk. He pulled out, we're pulling out roots, and like if maybe roots got in there and junk, but honestly, I don't even know how you can clean the pipes when it's that much.
I don't know if you recall,
already.
it used to flood right there, pond right there on First and Cooler also. Juan Maldonado, and now it's now that they completed that project not too long ago, that area cleared real quick.
I think you all, it was marked off because it might have caved in or something, but
Oh, the Huizache.
on Wissachi.
Yeah, the water got through the pipe got, once the water got in there, it got behind the inlet. But that's just a failure. The contractor fixed it already, or I think the contractor went out there and fixed it, didn't he? The Castle. I called them up and they
So
still
Ronnie,
fixed it.
I want to go back real quick to the issue on citrus with with the flooding, so you're saying you don't know how we can do it? Or
well,
you're still
first of
looking
all,
for a solution?
We don't know if it's just mud, that how we're gonna push it. I suggested something, you know, we're gonna have to cut the pipe to push it out of there. But you can't do it when it's raining, you know. And what kind of junk is it? Because if you remember when we did the project on Chaparral, that was the problem with that pipe, and it was almost uncleanable.
Yeah.
But there was no flow.
But
There was no drop.
Mr. Rojas attempted to clean that. That's how they found out it was clogged.
Yeah, we found out on Chaparral, but that one is the same thing or worse. Now, again, the streets, the paving had nothing to do with it. It's something that was just gonna happen sooner or later, and we're at the later point. But,
You're gonna propose that we cut?
well, once it dries, we're gonna go in there and take a look, because we couldn't, it was still water in it. In other words, you would go past, over there, closer, it's, what's in the North Street, Ethel? Or the one closer to, like, one
Ebony.
block from Oblate?
Ebony.
Well, no, I'm talking about north and south.
Oh, okay.
Antelope, okay, you go one there, and you can see those inlets are dry. Then you go one more block, and they're full of water. So we know where it starts, but if you look both ways, it's full. So where do you, obviously, you gotta start trying to see if it'll push that junk out of there. And the city has that big Vector truck, and I suggested another thing is we
That's
stick
only
a
2,000
fire
gallons,
hose
I
in
think.
there.
What does it carry? 2,000 gallons, maybe? Yeah, the pump.
No, it's not to suck anything out, it's to try to
Push-
unplug it.
unplug it.
Now, I suggested that maybe we stick a fire hose in there with all the pressure, once it dries, and see if we can blow it, you know, block by block or inlet to inlet until we get to.
Well, there's
better.
a lot of things that we need to do actually once this rain subsides. It gives us time to go in there, it dries up, so we can actually check to see what we have. We do have, you know, like I said, a lot of ideas, but like this valve over here, we haven't been able to install it because of the wet ground. So once everything dries up a bit, we can go in there and take a look
Ronnie,
at all
can
this.
you put a project list together of things, because I think because there's so many things that need to be addressed, I don't want anything to maybe, you know, fall through the cracks, because it all sounds like there are issues that we can solve and resolve, but there's a lot of them. And I think one of the things that we need to really look at, I mean, especially with the clogged one is do we need to break that pipe? Do we need to break into that pipe?
I think, Mayor Pro Tem, I think with the issue, and you down these streets and the gutters, where the water flows, that it's a lot of dirt basically out here. So I'm thinking those lines got to be clogged. We hadn't had a good amount of rain like this for a while. So,
Ronnie, can you put a project list there? Maybe you can get with Chief and,
Sure.
and that way,
Gonzalez
and
was
Mr.
out there on
Gonzalez,
the streets
exactly.
and
I commend them. Like I said, it's just a matter of, as soon as I get a call or as soon as I know there's something coming, brewing out there, I put them on alert, and they're pretty much, I mean, 10, 15 minutes, we get everything together and get it taken care of.
And reference the flooding there at Brecha. I think we need to identify whose responsibility it is to maintain and I'm sure they call it a detention pond, but it's a retention pond. Is that correct, Ronnie?
No, yeah, it's just retaining, no. there's
And
nothing-
so,
As far as I know, there's no exit.
and so if that's the case, then we need to consider increasing the capacity or finding some other relief, which is beyond my scope. But I can tell you that that detention pond, the first time I saw it, I was shocked because it's not, and correct me if I'm wrong, sized for the amount
no.
of water
It's
that
like
it's.
2 lots or something.
Yeah.
Like they left it, I don't know, it just, when I saw it, I said, what the heck is this, you know? But it's,
And so let's look at that and put that on there and see what some options are for that.
clean it up and figure it out.
Any questions? We'll work on that list and we'll get it addressed. We'll take care of it. We'll look at them.
Thank you, Chief.
item on the agenda is presentation on departmental reports. Chief?
Yeah, Mayor Commission,
the chief just gave a great presentation on the example that I would like to recommend for the mayor and commission to consider on the next commission meeting, that the department directors will give a presentation on what projects they have pending or what projects they're working on, so the citizens can be aware of what's happening in the city of San Juan. So I just wanted to introduce that, probably give them like a 3-minute presentation so they can share with the citizens and the mayor and commission all the projects that they have and all the work that they've been doing to make the city safe, to fix our streets, to address those potholes, address brush area, address issues of the waters and so forth. So I think it's important for our citizens, since now we're streamlining our meetings, that so they can be aware of what's happening. We are fielding a lot of calls and citizens asking about what's going on over here in this area, and I think that the directors have the answers, but I think it's important for the citizens to be aware of what's happening in each department for the service that we provide.
Very good. Looking forward to that. I do enjoy your reports, and I do look at them. I think the feedback on that, when you put your information together even in chart form, makes it a little bit easier to understand and gives that kind of snapshot look. I know some of the departments doesn't lend itself to that, but the last reports that I saw, you all did an excellent job. Thank you.
And I think, one of the things when I look at those reports and you start hearing from me, it's because I'm reading those reports. But I think if we could have everybody here at once, maybe also have a short Q&A on that, it might help as well. And so I look forward to that as well. And we'll be doing that once or maybe every other meeting, or
Mayor Pro Tem, what we do is that we will have half of the staff directors do it one meeting, and then the other half in the next meeting. Unless there's a pressing issue for the director to share some information, some services to the citizens, then they will be allowed to do that.
you can make those calls at the staff meeting.
That's correct.
Great. Sounds great.
Thank you, sir. Next item is hold a public hearing under item 5.6, hold a public hearing for a conditional use permit to operate a portable food concession stand at property located at 232 East US Business 83, legally described as Lot 1, Block B, letter blocks, subdivision, as requested by Jose O. Marroquin. Mr. Cervantes?
Mayor, City Commission, good evening. Mr. Jose Marroquin is proposing to install a portable food concession stand in the property located at the southwest corner of US Business 83 and Iowa Avenue. There is a liquor store in the property, and the owner will be leasing part of the property to Mr. Marroquin in order to install the food stand. Mr. Marroquin is proposing to pave the parking area and install the stand in front of the US Business 83. There's a diagram in your packet that shows the area that Mr. Marroquin is willing to pave. The applicant is proposing to use the restroom facilities at the liquor store for the employees and the customers. The proposed days and hours of operation are every day from 6:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. and from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. The liquor store is open Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. and to 9 p.m. only. A public hearing was held by the Planning and Zoning Commission on September 4, 2014. During their meeting, the Commission recommended approval with a 6-0 vote of the conditional use permit contingent on the paving requirements and with the condition that the hours of operation coincide with the liquor store hours of operation, or Mr. Marroquin show proof of having access to the store's restrooms by having a key to the building.
I'd like to open this at public hearing at 7:18. Are there any members of the audience that have any comments for or against? Any members of the audience for or against? Any questions from the commission?
I do, Mayor. And I guess my biggest thing is I can tell you that it's going to be highly unlikely that the liquor store is going to provide access to their restroom after hours, number one. Number two, do we have in writing that the liquor store owner will allow them to use the restroom? Okay. Yeah, I think that that's a real
that's
challenge.
why the Planning and Zoning Commission made that recommendation. Have coincide with the hours of the store, or have a key.
So
But
is
if
that a
it- but if-
condition of their approval? or a
Yes, that's the
contingency?
recommendation from
I
the
mean,
commission, yes,
Contingent on that?
yes.
Yeah, the
So
other
he will
thing-
have to prove to me that he has a key and can access. He really wants to open in the mornings, but the store opens at 10 o'clock. So unless he can show me that he has a key that he can get in and out, then he wouldn't be able to start operating until 10 o'clock in the morning.
Now, the other thing, and paving is also one of the items that's required, but the actual unit itself will not be on a,
Yes,
It
there
will
is
be on
a concrete pad thing in place. So that's where they're proposing to put the
so he's gonna
food
go on the
stands.
existing concrete
Yeah.
side?
And in
just-
the diagram, it shows
Yeah,
that that's existing concrete. The area has kind of like two entrances, so since people will be using both entrances, then both entrances need to be paved, and I require that three parking spaces. And he's willing to do that, which is a little expensive, but
Are there any regulations of underage going in by themselves into a liquor store? to
there
use
is
the
a
restroom?
sign in the store that says nobody under 21 allowed. But
That would hinder anybody who's under
if
21
if a
purchasing at that
customer
place?
comes in and has children, I suppose the store owner will allow it if the parent is taking that, but that is an issue of concern.
Liable for having approved it, and the actual store owner saying, I already got my notice that it's got to be 21. And we're saying anybody who comes into this has to be able to use a restroom if the need comes. So there might be some conflict there.
If you wanted to deny this permit, I think that would be a good excuse to deny it, because there is a sign in the door of the store that says nobody under 21 allowed inside the store.
Not then meet the requirement for open to the public for restroom use. So that's my comment on that.
and
that
and that
was-
was really my big concern from,
It's
From the very
always been a
beginning.
concern for me too, but my understanding is,
Yes,
if the store owner can allows it.
Yes, Mr. Cervantes, I just wanted to add something to it, that we are, Mr. Cervantes already has a plan in which we are making some unannounced visits to make sure that all these businesses that require using someone else's facilities, to make sure that that's happening. So we're gonna follow up on all that, because we
We're
already
looking
have
for
some
somebody to
reports
do
that,
some
that
undercover.
might not be going on.
We're looking for somebody to do undercover work for us. Well, we found the person. So,
you found a good actress to play the part.
yeah, so she's gonna go and ask to use the restroom, see if they are available. If they're not available, then they're in trouble.
Now, just refresh my memory, these are conditional use permits, correct?
Exactly, yes.
I mean, I agree, that's a major concern, because, and I'm sure that the P and Z board also considered that, because simply with the fact where they told them that the hours need to coincide. That was also something that they were thinking about because of the access. The other thing is knowing that facility as well, it's not handicap accessible,
Not,
which is another challenge as well.
Yeah, this is a good one to deny if you want to deny one.
Several issues, but particularly the one that we don't want to set ourselves to approve something that has been forbidden by a business owner and would not be.
Just a general lack of access to the bathroom, yeah.
I think there's a lot of issues of concern, and we don't have to approve all applications,
Not to say that, I mean, he couldn't come back and say, I'm gonna provide a bathroom.
Mr. Marroquin was here and he left. I don't know why he left. Taco.
Any other comments? I'd like to go ahead and close this at 7:23. Is there a motion to deny this conditional use permit?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Denied.
Thank you.
Thank you. B, consider final ordinance, final reading on ordinance adopting the tax rate and levy for the city of San Juan for the tax year 2014 fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2014 through September 30th, 2015. Mr. Gomez.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, City
Good
Commissioners. Just to follow up on the process for the levy and City of San Juan for next fiscal year. Just as to recap, basically, the City Commission moved and lowered the tax rate and levy to 0.6993, and the old rate was 0.7386 last year. And so there was two, on August the 12th, there was a meeting to adopt the tax rate and levy, and we already have two public hearings, one of August the 26th and one of September the 9th. And so basically, our recommendation is to approve the final reading of the ordinance for the tax rate for the levy for the City of San Juan, Texas for the tax rate 2014 and fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2014 and ending on September 30, 2015. And the motion should be stated as follows. I move that property tax rates be increased by the adoption of the tax rate of 0.6993.
Is there a motion? And if there is, can you please state it exactly as recommended?
I move that property taxes be increased by the adoption of the tax rate of 0.6993.
Do we go individually again?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. I vote yes. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Commissioner Garza?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramirez?
Yes.
Commissioner Suarez?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Still one more. Item C, consider second and final reading of ordinance adopting the budget for the City of San Juan for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2014 and ending September 30th, 2015.
Yes, good evening. Yes, on this particular item, Mayor, this is a budget. As we know, we have numerous meetings. We discuss in detail the proposed budget, the recommended budget by the City Commissioner. And so we make some adjustments based on the previous meeting regarding the attorney fees and professional fees. We lowered by $20,000. We made an adjustment of $250 incentive pay to all the employees of the City of San Juan. And so basically, I'm going to touch on some of the items individually, maybe just recap information on the budget highlights. This budget that we're presenting is an increase of $48,078 in the funding to the general fund for the one-time $250 incentive pay after taxes for the general fund employees, an increase of $2,142 in funding to the finance, an increase of $2,080 in funding to the community development, an increase of $64,808 funding to the police department, an increase of $111,658 in funding to the fire department, an increase of $14,900 to the streets and alleys, an increase of $1,000 in funding to the central garage, an increase of $11,395,000 in funding to the parks division, an increase to $2,200 in funding to building maintenance, an increase of $10,501 in funding to the library, an increase of $2,500 in the funding of the human resources for a particular item, an increase of $21,627 in funding to the Department of Information Technology. And on sanitation, we have $2,550 in funding to the sanitation fund for one-time $250 incentive pay after taxes for sanitation fund employees. In addition to that, we have an increase of $106,550 in funding to the Department of Sanitation for several items listed below. On the utility fund, an increase of $19,026 in funding to utility fund for the one-time $250 incentive pay for after taxes for utility fund employees. An increase of $4,676 in funding to utility billing department. An increase of $22,936 in funding to water plant division. And on the next page, an increase of $460,917 in funding to the water distribution division. An increase of $130,500 in funding to the waste water collection division. And an increase of $40,000 in funding to the sewer plant division for the last and least below. We're still projecting to be at 25 based on the balanced budget that we proposed by the end of the fiscal year. to be within that threshold, 25%. And at this point, the utility fund and the sanitation continue to remain financially sound. And my recommendation my department is to approve the second and final readings for the ordinance on adopting the proposed budget for the city of San Juan, Texas, beginning October 1st, 2014 and ending on September 2015. Any particular questions you may have?
Yes. Mr. Gomez, I had asked that you come up with the average salary for directors.
Yes, we have that information. I believe we met with Ms. HR. 56,000. Mm-hmm.
55.5.
I want to ask you, are we balanced?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I couldn't tell, other than from your telling me, what got moved around. You
Yes.
mentioned, because we were looking at the raise, which was about 49,
Correct.
49,000, correct?
Yes.
And that just got approved the last meeting, or that we all decided there was 3 issues that were going to be pending. It was going to be the legal,
Correct.
the legal fees, and it was going to be broken down to lobbyist, legal issues, and regular legal fees.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
was the only things pending. And so you
And we
were
also
able
didn't-
to get the 20,000 on the legal issues? Is that what you?
Yes.
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 Okay. And then to make up for the additional 29,000.
That's a good question, and what we did, we propose is basically most of the bulk of the increase between the $250 NFPA and the difference between the 20,000 decreasing of the budget amount for the professional fees. The bulk of it went into adjusting it a certain amount, decreasing the expenditures, but also most of it we increased the revenues for the next fiscal year to be able to balance. We increased the funding, the coming in revenues to be able to compensate for the difference. Well, basically, we're still within the projection range, and so we made a decision to put it as part of the increase of the revenues to make room for that.
In other words, your projection's not as conservative as you originally stated. Is that correct?
Well, that's a good way to put it.
Because we did not project any new revenue. It's all the same amount. You're just saying, well, maybe we will get more instead of what we're projecting.
Well, what I would answer to that, Mayor, is if I expect to come this revenue, if it's a conservative amount, it's within the range, of course, isn't the upper limit, but I believe we'll be able to have a balanced budget at the end of the next fiscal year. And of course, we have several mechanisms. As we know, we implemented unofficially, of course, to be able to not freeze, but on some of those positions, basically defer them to the hiring date after the next fiscal year. We cut down on capital outlays purchasing. We're working on certain departments at the minimum levels to be able to make room. So I know we have revenues coming in, but there's other mechanisms that we can implement, and we did this fiscal year. Just to give you an example, and so it will be a matter of basically looking on a monthly basis and make adjustments as we go.
I'm not comfortable with that. And I know that and I'm thinking that maybe I like to be able to look at the item F when it comes to the lobbyists, because whatever decision we make there can definitely come back and be looked at for freeing of monies if it passes. If not, then you've got it already in there. But I think that gives us that possibilities of not taking, I would say it's still a calculated risk, but nevertheless, because we know that we're already at 25%, with what you've already, looked at, and we could free up that money to be able to, get the, full amount on the bonuses that we talked about, and then perhaps if anything is left over, we have nothing on streets. As far as streets projects, we have the typical street items that we use, but nothing for actual devoting to any type of reconstruction of any particular area. It's actually at zero. And so that's because what we've seen and what we're continuing to see, I think that's something that we should look at. So I just think that voting on item C and then voting on item F would be best to go to item F. Council, that's what I'm looking, make a final decision on that one, and then come back to do the consideration, because that's going to impact. So,
Mayor, if I may, by speaking with Mr. Gomez, Isaac, on this particular item, on item F, he's recommending that what decision we make on item F, that be placed on the reserve for future, for this fiscal year. So, Isaac.
You know, of course, we have needs, and you know, I look in the, I'm the number cruncher, and then so I know we're at the 25% level, and you know, I would like to see that reserves being built up, and of course, it's something that is just to consider.
Well, you either put it in the reserves or you put it so that you can adjust your revenue, because either way, that's where you're going to be going if your revenues don't hit your projection. So, I know what you're saying. So, I mean, you're tapping into it because you get to adjust your income and now look at it in the conservative level that you were looking at it before, or be able to, so that, and still keep those numbers, but be able to tap into what is necessary to make sure that we're balanced by giving that bonus, or else we're going to be in the same situation as last year. And
right.
Now,
yes, I mean, like, you know, needs and you know, it's always something that we need to build up. I know on as far as, you know, when we're being negative, I think this is our, I want to say third year that we might be negative. This year's not over yet, but of course it's not going to be anything close to what we had last year. So we're doing our best to make sure that we balance our budget at the end of the fiscal year, but it's a possibility that we might be in the negative. And so there's this year there's a possibility we might be in the negative, but it's not going to be anything material. Well, I shouldn't say that. We'll see we hope for the best, and so we have 3 consecutive years of tapping into the reserves, and at one time we have to start thinking about, you know, saving for whatever projects out there, and maybe get some funding, and so that was my recommendation.
The other thing I had a problem with is I know that there was considerable conversation and discussion about the salary adjustment for the director of IT, and that's not reflected here either. It's the same, and that was the whole purpose for asking for the average salary of the director's position. You know, and I stand by what I mentioned last time. I find it very unfair to the rest of the directors. In fact, to all the employees, that we're giving one individual a $14,000 raise. So I'm saying right now that I'm opposed to that, and I'm not going to be voting in favor of that. And so that's also something, you know, and I've said before, I'm willing to do a salary increase to make it the average of the rest of the directors. That's fair, but to give one individual a $14,000 raise and everyone else just $250, to me, I couldn't face our employees with that decision at all. And so that's another consideration as well that I want reflected here, because we did have considerable conversation about that at the last meeting when we discussed this. And that was one of the items that we had put down as well.
Yes, sir.
I didn't.
Mayor,
I mean,
just to a quick answer on that. I know that myself and Isaac, we talked about that, and the decision of the commission, that if they take the decision to keep or adjust the salary to an average salary of the director, I think, can you explain what will happen to that balance?
Yes, we, with that, I guess that difference, we have projected it, which is additional, the current in what is requested at 14,584, which is about 660,000. So we will, if the commission moves forward, we can make the adjustment on the budget and reduce to that amount that you can specify to the medium and adjust accordingly the budget.
That affect them in the immigration, or?
Well, I'll go back on the information that I have, the information or any discussions that I've had. There was a range between 54,000 and I believe it's 72,000, something like that. So whatever the commission chose to there will be okay. I still do not foresee that there will be an issue with immigration status because it does not apply to that. It is a job description, and the job description can be dictated by the city, depending on what the application process is. So that's basically the discussions that I've had and the information that I have so far.
We got the comparabilities from the director, Ms. Cordero. And it talks about everybody, it gives us a list of everyone comparable to the surrounding areas. And of course, some cities are not comparable because of size. But if you were to look at the San Benito, Huestaco, and all of them across even. But when it talks about technology, current, and if you look at national standards and even local standards, it says 75,000 is at FAR, 39 in Alamo. It says 60,000 in Huestaco. It supervises 2 people. FAR supervises 7. Edinburgh supervises 4, 61,000. McAllen is 109, and it supervises 2. A staff supervised 20, I'm sorry. And that's 2 divisions. And so, and when we say averaging them out because of what the rest, if you look at the folks that we have, not everyone is average at 55. Some of our folks are making 68. Some are making 50.
One is making 68.
And some is making 78. I think he was making 68 before.
One is making 68.
And then some
You
are
said some,
in the
it's
60s.
only one.
There's 2.
There's
Right.
2,
Chief Garza?
60.
How much do you make, Chief Garza? I know you, yeah, and how much, and it's all public record. It's not like asking a private how much you're making. This is public record. Chief, before you got to the raise for city manager.
Total benefits about 72, 73.
Yeah, that's not what. And Mr. Cervantes,
said
how
many.
much do you make? That's 3. So if we look at that and we look at the comparability of the type of work that this is in other cities, and just because of the nature of what it is, you're not able to find, even at cities, somebody to be able to come at 55 at the level that we have, to be able to do the work that is being requested, that has been made, and the kind of leads that we've made in the city because of that. So you want to average it out, and and so Hussein is out, we'll get an average. I think we've been very fortunate to have someone that with the kind of expertise, and it's not even because of his expertise. It has nothing to do with his immigration. It has to do what the standards are. And we talk about monies being available to adjust salaries. I know that I was approached by our firefighters, and they told us that they are looking at their averages. And their averages also, when we compare them, I'm not sure how average we are. But if we're spending 72,000 on lobbyists who do nothing, literally do nothing, let's release that money. And if you want to be fair about things, let's get it's 5,000 difference between what you're wanting to offer and what he comes in at. I'm willing to give up, I've told you already, any travel money that I have that goes to legislative, any t-shirts that you want to purchase for me through the city that gets purchased, give that up. Put it towards that so that we can keep that type of personnel that he is. And I don't know that he's even willing to come back at this point. And I'm specifically speaking about him, but somebody of the quality that can come back in that salary, and that gets you at, I don't know, that would be about $3,600, and leaving only $1,400, which can come out of this lobbyist, so that we can't keep somebody like that. Take the other money, and can we look at adjusting, when we look at wages, and be serious about it? I can tell you we're not going to be able to do it. He's already telling us we're going to be in the red. But it's not an averaging for the sake of averaging. It's for the sake of the person. And
it's not an averaging for the sake of averaging. It's an averaging for the sake of fairness. You bring up the comparison. Have you compared all the other staff? Why is this individual so much special than any of our other directors? I think that Chief Gonzalez has done a great job, and I think he's way above any of the other chiefs, police chiefs in the Rio Grande Valley, not just Hidalgo County. And I'm sure he's not comparable, because I know that there's at least 3 other chief of police that are making in the hundreds. Fire chief, I think we're very, very blessed to have a fire chief like we have. Water, I mean, Mr. Olvera is far underpaid compared to the comparables are, and I know because they showed us, our firefighters showed us the comparables. They showed us the comparables, but you're here only fighting for one individual. You're here only giving up your t-shirts and your expense for one individual, and I think that sends a horrible message to the staff. And the man, and I let you talk, please let me finish.
Go ahead.
And I think that the averaging was something that I felt, was not averaging for the sake of averaging. I was very clear. It was for the sake of fairness, because I don't think that it's fair that as a director who supervises employees, that he be the lowest paid director. And so let's come up with an average, and that at least is some kind of fairness. Now, if you want to talk about, and you can continue to hit on focus advocacy as doing nothing, I think they've done a lot. I think they were, as I've mentioned before, very instrumental in blocking the transmission line coming through the city of San Juan. They've been very helpful in helping us acquire funding with the Water Development Board. They are currently working on legislation that's going to be beneficial to the city. And the simple fact that because you choose not to have them come here, you have not requested be here on March 15th. Be here on, you've said, will you come? And they said, we will come. When have you placed them on the agenda?
Not represent something
When
you do not
have you
know
placed
anything
them?
about,
I'm not
Mayor
done
Pro
talking.
Tem.
I do know. You have not
No,
placed them
sir,
on.
you have not been there.
When have you put them on the agenda?
How do you know my conversations, Mayor Pro Tem?
All I know,
with
ma'am,
the city manager and previous city manager,
all I know
sir?
is,
How do you
were,
know?
were they
Do you
placed
know?
on the agenda?
Do you know, sir?
Were they placed on the agenda?
No, answer my question. They're not on the agenda.
I know.
Do you know about it?
What I know
Do you know
is
my
that
conversations?
they can't put themselves on the agenda. They have to be put on the agenda. And you did not put them on the agenda. That's why they have not come. Now, you can continue to hit on that all you want, and that's fine. That's a separate point, because even if we release those $72,000, it's still not going to be able to put all of our directors, all of our firefighters, and all of our police officers at a comparable rate. But you want to sit here and give $15,000 to one individual. And I don't think that that's fair, and I think that sends the wrong message, not only to our staff, but to the citizens. I'm not saying he's not a great guy. He's a great guy, and he's great at his job, and he's saved us a lot of money. But so has every single one of these directors. The chiefs alone, the 2 chiefs alone, bring in millions of dollars worth of grants every year. But I don't hear you fighting. In fact, when we were having the conversation about compensating Chief Gonzalez for doing double duty,
That's executive
you were
session.
You were complete, no, it wasn't. We came out and we took a vote on it. We took a vote on it. You voted
Vote on the
against.
amount. I
You
just voted
voted
against.
against because you didn't want to give them any more money.
That is a lie, and you know it.
Then why did you vote against?
Please don't lie.
Why did you vote against?
I voted against the amount. I did not vote against what you said. Don't
And
lie,
is it
please.
comparable?
Please
Would
don't
you say
lie.
that it's comparable? It's not even comparable to the previous city manager that we had. It's
And
not
that's
comparable
really-
to any of the city managers.
That's irrelevant. Let's go back
I
to the
think
issue
it's
at
very
hand.
relevant because you brought up comparables.
Let's go to
You
the
brought up
issue at
comparables.
hand.
I would wager to say not one of our directors are comparable with anyone. I know for a fact.
You have a problem?
I know for a fact that.
Get outside.
Hey, is that enough? That's enough. Just get to your point. Get to your
Well,
point.
if
Just
you
leave
would
them at
just-
46.
Can you
if
get
could-
to your
if you
point?
could just-
Can you get to your
Could you
point?
please address
Can
that?
you get to your point? Get to your point.
If you would first stop interrupting me, and if you could please instruct
your
them
point.
not to be disruptive. Please, as soon as you do that, I will get to my point. It's very difficult when I'm sitting here trying to make my point, when you're interrupting me and you allow people in the audience to interrupt me. My point is this, ma'am, that it's not fair that you're fighting to give one individual a $15,000 raise and not anyone else. Not anyone else. And you're saying, well, it's because he's so great and wonderful. And so then the rest of our staff is not great and wonderful, and they don't provide savings to the city, and they don't make the city great. I think it sends the wrong message. I think that you sitting here politicizing this issue even further
that 10
sends the
times.
wrong message.
I'd like to-
And I'd like to
I'd
say it a
to-
couple more times. I still
And
have the
I'm
floor.
sure you will. You always-
I-
you always do.
and so do
Is there
you,
a
Mayor.
motion to stop
I
the
am
conversation?
still talking. I still have the floor. You can't just cut me off like that. I know that
Say
you say all, I am, and you continue to interrupt, Mayor. You continue to interrupt because you know that the point that I'm making is valid and you have nothing to offer.
Matt,
You are singling out.
insult me like that.
You are singling out one individual for a $15,000 raise when every single one of our directors, every single one of our firefighters and police, every single of our staff members deserve a raise. Not just one. Not just one.
Okay. I'd like to rebut what you said for the purposes of the record. When I have spoken about Mr. Hussein, and I've spoken about him individually, but I've spoken to him for what is for the best of this community. It's not for Hussein. It is what is being done. It is what is best for this community. If it is good for San Juan, it should be good for this commission. What has happened, and talk to any department, and compare the city and its technology to any other area or any other community, not only do we rival the best, that were the best before, but we're also more innovative. We have brought changes here to this community. It's about what is best to this community. It is not my political buddies. It is not somebody that I like. It is not because it's a favorite. It is not because anything. It is because what I've said. He has brought tremendous change for the city and is good for the city of San Juan and for its residents. When you stated that I said I voted against anything for Mr. Gonzalez, Chief Gonzalez, that is a downright lie. The good thing that there's a tape that also talks about what the discussion was. So do not misrepresent, and please do not put false statements out there. Do not talk.
You don't tell me not to talk. You're not
I
my
am
mother.
talking. You're talking.
Yeah, and
I
you
am talking.
make your point. Make your point.
I am
Okay,
making
can you get to it?
I will.
Can you get to it?
I certainly will. I certainly will.
You voted against, and that's not a lie.
And that
there
is why I am saying
and that is recorded.
that Mr.
You voted
Hussein
against.
and that position, comparable to others, and more than anything else, because of what has been brought to the table and the change and the incredible amount that has been made in progress to the city than any other time, and then in any other community, because of the way that it has been done, it is the reason why that should be what the city deserves. And if that's 60,000 because it's him or anybody else who can continue that kind of work, that's what it should be, and that's my position.
And I'd like to rebut some of that as well. I know that just yesterday we were told that we're doing something with our water system that's not being done not only anywhere in the county but nowhere else in the state, and that we are a model for other communities and what we're doing with our water system. I don't hear you fighting to give Mr. Olvera a raise. Why only Hussein? And I'm not debating that he has not done a great job. I am not debating that he hasn't done an exceptional job and brought the community to a much better place. That's why I'm willing to give him a raise. That's why I think he should be paid on average what our directors are making. What I don't believe in is giving one individual a $15,000 raise. When Mr. Hussein came here and he started here, he started at a much lower salary. And then, because he did a great job, we all agreed to create a department and give him a raise. And we did. And now here we are, again, we gave him, I believe it was, and correct me if I'm wrong if you know this, or maybe it's Mrs. Cordero, we gave him about a $6,000 raise from last year to this year? 6 to 8? 20. Okay. It's between six and 8,000 at least, you know, whatever. So we gave him about a $6,000 to $8,000 raise. Why? Because we made him a director of a department, and that was the entering or what's the base salary for a new director. That was the rationale, correct? And he accepted it, and he was okay with it. And now, this year, so last year we gave him, let's call it $8,000 for the sake of argument. We gave him $8,000 last year to make him a director of and now this year, $15,000. That's $23,000 raise for one individual in 2 years. And I'm not saying that it's not what's best. He is not what's best for the community. He absolutely is. But what's also best for this community is that we're fair with everyone. That we're fair with everyone, and that everyone is led to believe that they are great at what they do, because they are great at what they do. And when you go and you give someone a $15,000 raise right after you gave them an $8,000 raise, I think folks start to feel that they're not as special and that they're not as appreciated. And that's the last thing I want people to know. That's the last thing that I want not only our directors but our employees to know, because they are appreciated, because they do the heavy lifting. And not one of them is any more special than the other, and not one of them is going to be held in any higher regard than the other. And I think that when you do things like this, that's the message that you're sending. Whether you intend to or whether you mean to or not, that's what's getting across. And I don't think that that's fair, and I don't think that for the good of this community, as you have said, that we should be sending that message to our directors and our employees, that one amongst them is more favored than the other. And when you give somebody a $15,000 raise, whether you mean to, whether you intend to, whether you believe it or not, that's the message that's going out. That is what's understood when you give one person a $15,000 raise and everyone else nothing.
Now, I'd like to be able to go to item E, and item F.
Mayor, if I may, Mr. Rodriguez pointed out that on item B, there was not a second. I thought there was a second by Mr. Garza, but I asked the Mayor Pro Tem, and he said that there was not a second.
I made the motion and you went straight to the vote.
Can we just take the second person that said yes?
Well, I'd rather just have someone say I make a second, because we already had a vote on it. Second. Commissioner Ramirez made a second? Okay.
We've all voted already.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to go to item F, and that would be able for us to come back to item C and do a final on that approval. We need to remove from table. Is there a motion?
No action. You could do a no action on C right now.
Okay. No action. Let us go to item F. Is there a motion to remove from table?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Item F, consider possible action to terminate the contract for professional. Oh yeah, take a vote. All in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed?
Opposed.
F, consider possible action to terminate contract for professional services of Focus Advocacy LLC of Austin, Texas. I think we've done sufficient conversation on this one too. I'd like for the termination to be for cause, and I've stated specifically the items on the contract. Legal can, there's two options. It can either be for cause or it can be for no cause. For cause would be a 30-day notice. No cause would be 90 days. The items that I'm listing under services, that there are describing that they would have provide analysis and tracking of governmental action decisions which could have an effect on the strategy of the client and advising the client of these contemplated actions and respect. I have provided already information of what I received and any information having to do directly with any of the work. I never saw other than, I think it was maybe 3 emails throughout the year from August until then. I did also request that they periodically at the meeting in August of 2013. They agreed to come quarterly, and I definitely made requests for them to make contact so that we could discuss what they were doing. I would say repeatedly through J.J. Rodriguez, our city manager then, and not until July, I believe, that Chief got information, but I asked him as soon as he became interim to have these folks make a report or to come, and nothing has happened. We got a report maybe in July, Chief. I think you provided that the last time. Also, it says client communications, that the consultant provide the client both written and verbal statuses, reports to all matters affecting the stated interests or agenda items. Consultant will attend client meetings as requested and schedule permitting to assure timely. I got nothing as far as verbal at any time for statuses. Again, the only thing that I got in writing was maybe 3 emails. It talks about what are lobbyist activities and reportings. When you look at the invoicing and what I saw on an invoice, unless it's different, it said the month of May, $6,000, the month of June, $6,000, the month of July, $6,000. That's how it comes. No, I didn't see any kind of detailing. And it says consulting, what would be lobbyist positions? What is it, lobbying activities? Consultant to report compensation for reimbursement for payment by the consultant for purpose of directly communicating with members of the legislative or executive branch. So this is actual lobbyist activities. I don't know who they've spoken to in our legislation or executive branch. I've received nothing like that in any reports, definitely not in the invoicing. It also talked about direct communication with one or more members of the Texas legislative executive branch and influencing them for action activities to prepare such direct communications. I don't have any information regarding that. Talked about also providing daily monitoring legislative executive actions. And then it says the consultant will allocate on reasonable basis to allow the rules and the amounts of retainer to be paid to the consultant that's being paid for lobbying activities. I'm supposed that's for them to report, but to report to us, I did not have anything like that or saw or have seen anything to that matter. And I've asked about the invoicing with Chief, and the only thing I was provided was that email or a letter where they state just pay me June, I might have been May, June, July, for $6,000, and that was it. And it says, so based on those, I'm requesting that we terminate the contract based on cause for the lobbyists and release them from representation of the city.
I just wanted to comment on the cause, and this is more for legal than anything. Since they have been in constant communication with at least me, I know for a fact, that the mayor's also communicated with them in the past, particularly when we were discussing the issue of the transmission line. But I know that for my part, they have set up meetings in the past for me, particularly, and I can mention to meet with the chairman of the calendars committee, with the chairman of the water development board. He also set up a meeting with the president of Tech, or the chairman of the board of TxDOT, and we actually got to meet this June with the water development board and their staff to discuss ongoing projects and how we could get that facilitated. So as the mayor says that she wasn't given any, would there be any trouble if they come back and say, wait a minute, I did, this is what I did. Plus I receive 2 emails per month yearly, and particularly the last 3 months, I've gotten an email pretty much weekly detailing the activities that are going on with the committees and that are meeting right now prior to the legislative session. So I would just think they would have some rebuttal if we say no, just because they haven't directly spoken to her and because she's taken this position against them. So I just, not that I'm in favor of terminating them, I think that it's necessary that that we keep them on board. I think it's important, particularly going into this next legislative session, because it's going to be particularly hard in meeting with our delegation in the last 3 days. That's the one thing that I keep hearing over and over again, particularly if the November election brings in a new lieutenant governor and 8 new senators. It's going to be particularly difficult to get anything passed in the state legislature. And so I would be opposed for those reasons. I am opposed for those reasons. But again, I want to just make sure that if we do make, if a motion is made and passed, that we terminate due to cause because of what she stated, and then they can rebut that. Would we have any issue there?
I'm not sure what their legal counsel will do or what they will do, but if I were their attorney, I would definitely fight that with cause or without cause. If someone were to terminate my client with cause, I would come back and rebut it.
Her clients, in this case, who's the client?
Who's their client?
Yeah.
Their client in this case would be the city of San Juan.
The
But
city.
I'm saying, once they have their contract reviewed by their attorney would rebut this for cause.
So would it be the city commission or the city? What would it be?
The city and the city commission is
Okay.
the one that.
So if they are not fulfilling and definitely not giving us privy information that the Mayor Pro Tem receives, Commissioner Garza, do you get emails?
Mayor, this whole process, I understand, what each side is saying, but you all are really, this should be taken up in executive session. This is a contract.
Oh,
This
sir,
is,
these-
if you want to terminate them,
If you're wanting to get to litigation, they are not employees of the city.
they are not, but they have a contract with the city, and my recommendation would be that we speak about this in executive session to avoid any more liability that you could be exposing the city to. That's what I'm concerned about right now.
Then let's go into executive session. We reserve the right to do it in this issue and come back out.
I mean, yeah, we can, but a number of reasons have already been discussed as to why you want to terminate them with cause. I mean, that's what concerns me. I mean, you all have discussed all of it. I mean, I don't know what else you'd like to discuss in executive session,
Exactly.
but that is a valid concern.
But that is my position of
Yes.
why.
No,
Because I have not had 2 emails weekly or monthly, whatever it is that he gets. I have not been called to any meeting that he goes to.
I haven't been called. I've requested them.
And,
Don't put
and,
words
and
in
the
my
thing,
mouth.
and the thing is,
Don't put words in my mouth.
and the thing is that anything that has happened is never reported back to this commission that is taking place.
That is not true either. That is
So-
a blatant lie.
And so
That is a
therefore, I mean,
blatant
that is
lie.
why I'm saying that
For the record, that
communication
is a
not
blatant lie.
the same for every member of this commission. And that is why I think they need to be
Because
terminated.
that
And I think that
communication is supposed to
if
be
then
initiated by
the issue will
you.
be,
Motion to go into
council,
executive session?
well, I think we've already discussed everything.
Well, I haven't, and Mr. Garza hasn't
Okay,
said
then
anything
let's
else
go into
either, so I
executive
would
session.
appreciate that.
Council,
So no action on this item F, because you've already untabled it, right?
we've untabled it,
Right.
but we want to go into executive
Executive session.
session, and we can reserve the right to go into it now, if it arises, and come back out and take a vote.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to enter executive session under what section?
Well-
What section, council?
Gosh. Remember if it's 071 consultation with attorney, 071.
Is there a second? All in favor state aye. Aye. Let's go into executive session. F, consider possible action to terminate the contract for professional services with Focus Advocacy, LLC of Austin, Texas. Is there a motion to terminate without cause?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Motion passes. Back to item C, consider second and final reading of ordinance adopting the budget for the City of San Juan for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2014, and ending September 30th, 2015. It has been presented, and it's been presented as balanced. We now have additional monies, I would say as of 90 days, that would be freed up of the contract for $72,000. So it'd be 6 months, 3 months of payment, and then the rest has been freed up. And your recommendation is to put it in the reserve, is that correct?
My recommendation is, we have a balanced budget, but, it's a possibility we can have some money put aside for, reserves and start building up the reserves. That's what I would recommend. And so I know you mentioned 6,000 and whatever the difference is, we can go ahead and adjust the budget accordingly and basically come out with, to be able to, the expenditures and the revenues to be able to equal to each other, to be able to balance. Correct, yes. Yes. Most likely, yes. It's most likely because of increase.
But in the reserve might be the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, basically it's a possibility. We have, it's going to be a good positive year. And so at this point, I'm looking forward to the possibility maybe to put some money aside, because in the last 3 years, basically we're depleting the savings. And so we're taking, when, just on top of my head, we were at one point at 3.3 million, now we're in 2.5. And so we already, we took a hit of almost close to $1 million in the last 3 years.
Did the departments lose any funding due to the incentive pay?
Departments do, I'm sorry?
Did they lose any funding?
No. Basically, the incentive pay was adjusted on the general fund by lowering the professional fees under administration by $20,000, and the difference, instead of finding, originally we were planning on allocating it within among the departments, the 19 departments, and so what we did, we basically adjusted the revenues, which is to be able to balance. It didn't affect any departments.
And is there a motion for approval?
Make a motion to approve with the change to the 14,000 for the Director of IT. And at this point, I need some direction from you, Mr. Gomez, as to what the amount would be to bring Mr. Vaca's salary to $55,500.
Okay, that number, if my math is correct, I don't have a calculator with me, is in the range with the low 60,000, 60,500. And so that amount will be the 14,584 will be reducing approximately in the amount of $5,000. So instead of 14,584, it will be lowered to 9,584. So that's a difference of $5,000.
Make a motion to approve the budget as presented with the change to the salary adjustment for the Director of IT to reflect $9,584.
Second.
There's been a motion and second. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Against? Aye. Moving on to item A, consider awarding bid number 1428010 for the purchase of concrete to Central Ready Mix for San Juan, Texas in the amount of $58,099.20 under the Federal Transit Administration Funding Project. Ms. Gonzalez.
Commissioner, this item has been in process since April, and we finally received 2 bids on September 10th. One first bid from Central Ready Mix in the amount of $58,099.20, and CMEX Construction Materials in the amount of $59,486. Central Ready Mix is the lowest bidder. He is also, has a company here in San Juan. They will provide the cement for us. The work will be done in-house, and that also includes the pavers. If it is approved, we have decided to sit with the grantor, with the street department, with the planning department, and myself to go over this project.
Questions? Not is there a motion for approval as presented?
So moved.
Was moved by whom?
Commissioner Suarez.
Second by whom?
Myself.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item B, consider awarding bid number 1426-0827 for the purchase of unleaded plus 88 octane rating and diesel highway ultra low sulfur fuel to Gold Star Petroleum Inc. from San Juan, Texas. Ms.
This is housekeeping for fiscal year 2014-2015. Gold Star Petroleum did come in the lowest, and that he came in the lowest as far as the delivery. They are housed in San Juan. They will provide the city with 2 3,000-gallon tanks free of charge and the pumps. Staff is recommending to award the bid to Gold Star Petroleum of San Juan.
Very good. Are there any questions? Not is there a motion for approval as presented? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item C, consider award number 1428-0827 for the purchase of Athletic League uniforms and T-shirts to Rodriguez Screen Printing and Embroidery from San Juan, Texas, and Trenton Sports from San Juan, Texas.
This is another yearly purchase for the Parks Department. It's basically for parks. We also do it for city events, police department, and fire. On August 27th, the city received 3 bids, one from Rodriguez Screen Printing, Trajan Sports, and Express Distributing from San Antonio. After sitting with staff, we went over the proposals, not the proposals, I'm sorry, the bids, and Rodriguez and Trajan Sports were the ones that were pretty competitive. Staff is recommending to award to Rodriguez Screen Printing and Trajan Sports. Now, the quantities here are based on approximate. It could be lower or just a little bit higher.
Question, Mayor. Ms. Gonzalez, so I just want to just be clear on this. So do we know what we're going to give to Rodriguez and what we're going to give
Yes.
to Trajan? Okay.
Yes,
That-
we
so-
went over everything, Mayor Pro Tem, and we went over all the bid one by one and decided, you know, this is the lower bid.
Right. Legal, just Counselor, just a question on that. So, and this is something that, just for my clarification, if it is the wishes of the commission to approve as presented, will we be covered? Like, will we be covered by the way they're going to split it up, or do we need to be more specific, or is it just by vaguely saying move to award to both contractors, and then we'll be covered on how they? Because if I understand correctly from what you presented or what's presented here, Carmen, I don't know if you did. I'm assuming you did. There's certain items that are going to be by one vendor, and certain items that are going to be from a different.
And that's the
vendor.
way it was spec'd out. The specifications do say that this can be awarded to 2 vendors, to more than one vendor.
More than
That's
one
how I
vendor.
spec'd it out.
And I saw that. I guess my confusion or my hesitation is are we going to have a vendor coming back and saying, oh, well, I can do that cheaper than them, why are you giving it to them?
They submitted quotes, and we went item by item.
Okay.
We just didn't, decide this is this. We went item by item, and we
Okay.
took the lowest of the bid.
Of each item?
Of each
And- oh,
item,
great.
yes.
Well, then we're covered then.
We're fine.
We're fine, great. Okay. Just wanted to be sure.
I have a question. So why is it that we go with 2 different vendors? Is it maybe because one vendor doesn't do embroidery and the other one does, or?
That's the reason is that we do a lot of purchases as far as uniforms. And sometimes the vendors are, we're not the only customers. So they have other customers and that, and they might, the volume of it. And another thing is that we're distributing like the wealth to everybody.
Good. Sounds good.
If I could add, both businesses have done work for the city of San Juan. Both have been in this line of work for a number of years. But it would be something like we're looking for
there a motion for approval?
Motion to approve as presented?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. D, consider awarding bid for raw water reservoir transfer line project to OG Construction Company, LLC from Edinburgh, Texas, in the amount of $1,595,000. Chief Gonzalez. Mr. Cruz?
This is the water transfer line that was, that we bid out last week, 2 weeks ago, I think it was. We had 11 bidders. Out of Edinburgh for $1.595 million.
Have you done work with them before, Mr. Cruz?
Yes, and they also did some work here in San Juan for the county. They did some, on some streets over here in the north. Actually, they're a very good contractor. I did check up references.
You did. Are there any questions? If not, is there a motion for approval as recommended?
Motion.
Who moved?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Item E, consider awarding proposal for the annual financial audit for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2014. Mr. Gomez.
Yes. Good evening again, Mayor, City Commissioners. This is the regarding the annual audit that we do for the City of San Juan. We went out for proposals, and on September the 17th, we only received one sealed envelope from our current auditors, Reina and Garza. That's the more recent auditors for the past 3 years. I know our auditing services, they ended at the fiscal year 2013, September 30th. The proposed fee was the same as the last time, which is $25,500. Ms. Reina and Garza have been with the city, I guess, external CPAs 12 of the last 13 years. And my recommendation, the finance department, is to basically award the audit for an additional year. And maybe on the next run, we will get more bids. And the reason is because there's a peer review process going on with different audits firms out there, and it seems that they're changing the auditing procedures, and so a lot of them have not been passed, and of course, you know, some of them, they usually high fees. And so by proposing maybe an additional year next year, we're more aggressive to attract an audit firm and have more competition for our services.
1 year, a 1 year contract?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion for approval as recommended? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item G, consider authorizing the interim city manager to enter into an agreement for administrative services with the San Juan Economic Development Corporation. Mr. Villarreal?
Yes. Last year, the EDC started contracts with the City of San Juan for administrative services. Those include maintain insurance policies, accounts, and records, organize employee salaries and benefits, and provide human resource support. We have been using those services to the fullest. We're very happy with the services provided, and we would like to recommend that a new agreement, we enter into a new agreement and receive the same administrative services with the same terms found in the agreement.
So it's the exact agreement from last year? Is that what you're saying?
It's the exact agreement from last year. It's $1,000 a month for the services, and we're very happy with the services.
Any questions? If not, is there a motion for approval? Is there a second? All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item H, consider approving the memorandum of understanding between the City of San Juan, Texas and the San Juan Economic Development Corporation concerning the San Juan Economic Development Corporation's in North Minnesota project. Mr. Villarreal.
Yes, At the last meeting, you all voted to authorize an agreement with, to amend the agreement with Cruz Hogan Consultants. And as it relates to the City of San Juan, the U.S. Expressway 83 project, to include the San Juan EDC's North Minnesota project in an effort to, save some money there as far as the bidding process. And so we're recommending that there was an MOU done, and I have the MOU here. I don't know if it's
In our packet.
okay. And we're recommending that you approve the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding between the City of San Juan and the EDC.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to answer for Mr. Vidal. Mr. Cruz and myself worked out this memorandum of understanding. The City Commission asked that we prepare one so that we could spell out what the obligations were going to be of the city, and especially to spell out that the EDC was going to be responsible for reimbursing the city for this project. And so that's what this MOU is representing and what it's for. So if you have any questions, or if I have to clarify or redo this.
I'd like to get the signature from attorneys from both the city and the EDC to sign as well.
Yes, Mayor.
And I guess when it does reflect what we talked about last time. I just want to ask, when we talk about when we do the bid and we approve it, we're going to approve both, correct? We will be the ones to approve both, the commission.
Yes, it'll be your project, yes.
Okay. And then for the, as far as, it talks about reimbursement, and I know that if we were to, we have the monies for our part that's been funded. And then the monies for, and no, we're gonna be reimbursed. Do we need, can it be a simultaneous reimbursement? So that when that gets done, can the EDC transfer that money? So that we know that the money's coming, rather than have a line item ourselves for that money?
I believe I've had discussion with the finance and contract specialists over the last couple of weeks, and the vice president and the president. We do have the funds. We will have the funds to be able to pay this project. We have, the EDC has projected or is estimating that the cost will be about $56,000. And so they have budgeted this amount for this project, and they expect that money to be coming in soon. Okay, so, and we did discuss with Mr. Cruz the timeline so that we knew when we were expected to have this money. And when I say we, I mean the EDC. We did a timeline with Mr. Cruz. We sat down and spoke to our officers, and we are projecting that we're going to have to pay this out probably in January or February, I think it was. January, after the bidding and getting to our project. And we also discussed with Mr. Cruz possibly having our project at the end of your project, so that way that we can assure ourselves that we have the money for this, for North Minnesota project.
Any other questions? Not, is there a motion for approval as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Just a quick question, Mr. Cruz, so now that the MOU is passed, when do you expect to go out to bid for this project? Next Wednesday. Fabulous.
Item I, consider authorizing interim city manager to enter into lease agreement with Amigos del Valle, Inc. Mr. Jaime?
Good evening, Mayor. As you know, every 2 years, we come back to the commission to ask you all to consider approving the lease agreement between Amigos del Valle and the city of San Juan. Amigos del Valle has reminded me that their lease is over as of October 1st. So we're asking the commission to consider renewing that lease.
Nominal fee, or we don't have a fee at all?
No, ma'am.
No fee?
The same agreement that's been in existence for a number of years, Commissioner, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm sorry.
Questions?
Motion to approve as presented?
Is there a second? All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Jaime.
Thank you.
Preliminary and final plat approval of the replat of Lot 5A San Juan Corner, St. Ives subdivision located at the northwest corner of Cesar Chavez and Carol Rose as requested by Meldon and Hunt. Mr.
Yes.
Salvador.
The applicant is proposing to replat Lot 5A of the San Juan Corner St. Ives subdivision into two separate commercial lots. There are existing water and sewer services available from the city of San Juan. An additional fire hydrant may be required at the time of issuance of a building permit. A commercial development is proposed in the new Lot 5B that will be created as a result of the replat. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval.
Mr. Cervantes, I was going to call you Javier, and I couldn't come up with your last name. Javier. Mr. Cervantes, isn't this already an existing, isn't there something already here?
Yeah, the commercial plaza at Carroll and Cesar Chavez is Lot 5A right now. With the replat, that will be that will remain Lot 5A. There's a space between the plaza and the bank that is vacant, and that will be the new Lot 5B.
So that's what we're doing here today. I was
Yes,
confused about
it's going to
what
allow
exactly we were doing.
the owner of the plaza to sell that vacant space, so something will develop in that vacant space in the near future. But they haven't announced what's going in there.
I'm sorry, go ahead. That's all?
Sorry. You were saying they haven't announced, right?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, we asked, but they haven't told us. We think maybe a Starbucks, maybe.
So existing right now, it's 5A and 5B is just 5.
Right now, it's just 5A. With this replat, it's going to be a 5A and a 5B. And the 5B will be that vacant
What kind of
space.
dimensions are we looking at? Because I see a bunch of numbers on here. 232 by 129?
5B is going to be 129 feet of width and 232 feet of depth. A lot of that lot is a common area because you have those driveways, you have the signal there, and then you have the driveways that connect to the bank, and then you have the driveway that connects to the Popeyes. So a lot of it is going to be a common area to allow access to those businesses.
Actually going to be a very small.
Yes, that's why maybe a Starbucks or something small.
Don't get me excited right now.
I said maybe. No promises.
Let me get in my hopes
But
up
that's the rumor.
I could use one right now.
Right, any other questions? If
Motion.
not, is there a motion for approval as presented?
Motion to approve is
Is there a
presented.
second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Cervantes. Under consent items, A, approval of minutes, September 3rd, September 9th, 2014. Budget expenditure report, July 31st and August 31st of 2014. Monthly collection report, August 31st, 2014. Final and second and final reading of ordinance to incorporate the boundary of the city of San Juan, Texas, providing for voluntary annexation of the Medina Estate subdivision as recorded in document number 2513-423 of the maps of Hidalgo County, Texas, including Eldora right-of-way between Retama and eastern boundary of Medina Estate subdivision along the south side of Eldora Road, approximately 1,400 feet of east of Retama Street. F, consider second and final reading of ordinance for a special use permit for the sale and on-premise consumption of alcoholic beverages at Rolling Dice Sports Bar, legally described as Lot 30, Morningwood subdivision, located at 1209 East FM 495 Suite 4, as requested by Brenda Zuniga and Jorge Monsivais. G, consider second and final reading of an ordinance for a special use permit for the sale and on-premise consumption of alcoholic beverages at Lisa Sports Pub, legally described as Lot 3, McBride subdivision, located at 905 West FM 495 Suite 5, requested by Elisa Vigil. Consider second and final reading H on ordinance for special use permit for a drive-through for sale of alcoholic beverages, off-premise consumption, Charlie's drive-through, legally described as Lot 1, Mirales subdivision, located at 219 East US Business 83, as requested by Suhei Mireles. Is there any items that you wish to pull out of that list? If not, is there a motion for approval as presented?
Motion to approve is presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is executive session. The City Commission will convene executive session in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Vernon, Texas statutes and codes annotated, Government Code Chapter 551, Subchapter D, exceptions to requirements that the meeting be open, Texas Government Code Section 551.074A1, personnel matters, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of public officer or employee, city manager position applicants. Going to executive session at 8:54. Ms. Cordero, can you join us in the back real briefly? Did you need to leave? Just a few questions, and then I'll let you leave. I know you've got a dad that's in the hospital. You just throw him out for a little bit. The regular session at 9:21. Under item A, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer, employee, city manager, position applicants. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve as instructed in executive session?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
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 Was it getting heated?
This meeting is adjourned at 9:22.
So anyways.